Good day, and welcome to another training session here at Dayton Superior. As always, these presentations are intended for training purposes only. Any technical specifications for the products mentioned within this presentation, please refer to www.daytonsuperior.com. Today, we're going to talk about bar supports. What type and what size? Answer to your job site questions. What we're going to try to do here is answer as many questions pertaining to job site applications as to which bar support is actually the correct bar support that the customer should be using on his site. So bar supports typically are governed by CRSI, Concrete Reinforcing Steel Institute. They are a recommending agency here regarding bar supports and rebar. So we actually follow their guidelines, which is 3.4.1, application and use of bar supports. Typical bar support is designed so that it'll be spaced out at no more than 4 foot on center. So anything you can have spacing at 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot, 4 foot. It depends on the size of the bar and the conditions for what the contractor is looking at. This is something that is not etched in stone, but it is a requirement for the contractor to actually space the bar supports to support the rebar and the workers that may be walking on it. So here we're talking about bar supports generally estimated and furnished for basically all form beams, girders, joists, and slab as shown in the following recommended details, unless otherwise specified on the drawings. Bar supports are intended to support the steel reinforcement and normal construction loads, which is the man load and minor equipment. It's not designed to support any concrete pumps or runways for concrete buggies or any other loads. Concrete hoses can actually add up to 400 or 500 pounds per square foot requirement within the reinforcement. So therefore, they cannot be included in and on what's going to be used within for bar support requirements. Now, why use bar supports? Well, rebar typically is designed so it works best when it's actually spaced at the middle of a concrete slab. To maintain this reinforcement at the proper location within the concrete slab, you use a bar support. Now, typically here we're using a 3¼ inch castle chair, primarily because we have a subgrade. And for this example, that was the proper chair to use for this because of that subgrade application and the requirement for 3¼ inch of concrete coverage from the ground up to the bottom of the rebar. And with the subgrade, you have a good wide base. That's why you want to use a castle chair in that situation. So things you want to look at when you're talking about chairs. First thing you want to ask, domestic or import? Is domestic going to be a requirement? What type of rebar is the chair going to be supporting? Primarily, what's the type and the size? And type, I mean epoxy, stainless steel, etc., because that will help determine whether it has to be an epoxy chair, a stainless chair, a plain chair, or an all-plastic chair. Obviously, clearance needed. Actually, what is the clearance that you're going to require from the ground to the bottom of the rebar or reinforcement? So that would be the chair size that you would actually have to come up with. And next thing you want to know, is it going to be an individual chairs or is it going to be a continuous bolster, which is in many cases, plastic bolsters come in 2.5 foot lengths, can be clipped together. Slab bolster and metal components typically comes in 5 foot lengths and typically are overlapped and tied together. And then how much is needed? The contractor is the one that can tell you what you actually have to need and require for the job. All we can do is refer back to DaytonSuperior.com or to CRSI at their manual of standard practice. What type of bar support? Well, if you're talking you have conditions where you have soil or granulated fill that's been compacted. Individual chairs with a sand base, a bigger footprint, primarily so that the chair won't sink into the reinforcement. So you can also use, if an individual chair with a sand base isn't available, you could use slab bolster with a flat base, something similar to the PSBU. If you have a hard substrate or concrete form, typically you got to have a plastic tipped or all plastic chair. Plastic tips are typically going to be used so that they hide where the bar supports are within the concrete slab once you strip the form off of it. And also they stop the transference of any rust or any discoloration from the metal products within the concrete slab. The plastic bar support typically will does this really well because it one is all plastic. It won't leave, and you can actually have the plastic bar support have a very fine footprint, which will have mean it'll come to a point on the legs so that the only thing you see on the face of the concrete is that little dimple of plastic material. And if you're not looking for it, you won't find it. If you're spanning rebar or corrugated metal deck or any other substrate imperfections, typically you're going to want to go with like a slab bolster upper type material. And that can be either a plain epoxy, galvanized and or plastic or the PSBU. The slab bolster upper actually has three main wires running longitudinally on the bar. And the bar, then you have the rising bar sizes, which will actually accommodate for what the height of the chair is. But the three runners that typically have one on the top that actually support the rebar, and two on the bottom that will actually support the chair while it's spanning that imperfection within the substrate. So on grade applications, I mean, we've got chairs here from concrete dobies. Dobies are primarily concrete blocks. They typically look like 2x2 cinder block, little cinder blocks, and they vary in height. But typically you find them mostly in everything less than 3 inches in height. Uh, any of the metal chairs can come in and be used here with steel plate if need be. You can also have plastic chairs with a plastic sand base on them. And we have a wide variety of whether or not they have a wide base and whether they attach to rebar or wire mesh. So get familiar with your handbook and understand primarily it's not bars that are typically not going to be exposed. Do not use a sand base if it's going to be exposed. Means you don't want to see what's holding up the rebar, which means you don't want to have that big circular base or square base actually on the face of the concrete. So what type of bar supports do we have and with the rebar? Well, if you have plain rebar, You're going to have plain bar supports. You can use galvanized. You can also use epoxy coated. If none of that's available, you can actually use a plastic bar support. If you've got galvanized rebar, uh, and this can be galvanized bar supports. We have a class 3 galvanized uh, bar support, and we also have plastic bar supports. Epoxy rebar. Typically, epoxy coated rebars require epoxy coated bar supports, and or you can use all plastic. Once again, it does not conduct and it does not transfers any current, stray current through the rebar. We also have GFR and GFRP rebar. This is something that's relatively new within the last 8 to 10 years, as we are seeing a fiberglass rebar coming into play here in the marketplace. You see this on quite a few um, high corrosive areas where they worry about any steel or reinforcement within the concrete slab. And at this rate here, you're going to want to use a plastic bar support. We have stainless steel rebar. I would recommend a plastic rebar support. Our stainless steel bar supports are typically plain bar supports with stainless steel tips. And some engineers typically do not like that. They're assuming that if you have stainless steel bar, you should have 100% stainless bar support. We do not have 100% stainless bar support. It is only the very tips that are stainless. So I would actually recommend a plastic bar support for this situation. We have bar supports in metal, 5 foot length, 60 inches long. Typically, you can see we've put them together here in a chart, trying to get a guidance for what each component is used for and where it can be placed. So you've got a variety of individual chairs, both with sand plates, joist chairs, which will be short little pieces. We have individual high chairs up to 9.5 inches long or high, and you can get those in epoxy coated, stainless, uh, tipped. You can also get them epoxy coated material. There is a sand base that can be used to attach to it. Uh, Not a big fan, but it does work. But I would prefer to go to a plastic chair at that point. And then obviously you've got your slab bolster with runner or beam bolster, as you see in the photo here. The beam bolster is typically a chair that actually has twice as many legs. So typically, if you have a heavier bar, you're going to want to use a beam bolster application, and those are available up to 5 inches in height. And they can be either upper or lower or standard, standard height, standard chair, or you can get it with an upper design. Plastic chairs. We have another chart here that's available for everybody to look at. This chair here um, breaks down where the chairs can be used. Once again, this is a recommendation from past history with these chairs. Some of the better chairs that, in my opinion, here are going to be um, the Aztec Snap-on chair for mesh, your R22. You've got the Easy chair and the Easy chair with sand plate, the Castle chair, and you've also got a mesh chair that's also available. Uh, the tower chair and the straddle chair are great for taller applications and can be actually bolstered with another little add-on piece that typically will add 2 to 3 inches in overall height to the tower chair. So these products here, all these components here typically will attach to the rebar. You have these space wheels, which are typically going to be used on wall application. Um, they're great for when either the rebar cage is going to be dropped in first, or you're going to drop the forms from the top down. This enables the forms to actually slide down around and actually have that circular wheel uh, rotate and space the cage in the center of the form. So that's not, and none of the steel product are facing the concrete or actually showing up on the surface of the concrete once you pour it. We've also got concrete dobies. As I said, concrete dobies come in a couple of different varieties. You've got the plain dobie, you've got a wired dobie. You've also got a space dobie, which actually has a notch for the rebar to actually sit in. And we can actually supply these in uh, various heights, up to about 3 to 4 inches. And the biggest problem we have with this is primarily a West Coast product. We see a lot of this being used on slab on grades out on the West Coast. So therefore, freight on this product here is considerable. So take that into consideration when you're looking at quoting it. Uh, we also have tie wire, and then we also have our Cody clip application for tying the rebar cages. So if we are talking about removable wood form or steel form, typically you're going to want to have something with a very small footprint. As you can see in the right-hand picture, right upper right-hand corner picture, uh, excuse me, upper left-hand corner picture, you're going to see a chair here with a very small footprint. Typically, you got four legs coming down, and as you can see, they all come to a point at the bottom, which actually gives you a very small footprint. Anytime you use a metal support, you're going to want to have it to be either plastic dipped or plastic tipped. Uh, the plastic tipped is a much more robust coating. The plastic dipped is probably more reliable because it's actually adhered to the bar support. The plastic tip is pressed on and uses a compression type uh, attachment to the wire. And with trucking and everything, they have a tendency to be knocked off. So this is why I say uh, the plastic dip is more reliable, but the plastic tipped is actually gives you a better finished product. It's a better actual product for making the connection to so that you don't see your bar support on your wood on your formwork. And then as we have the space wheels that we talked about, now the space wheel comes in a couple of different flavors and varieties. We have the standard space wheel, which actually just slides on and uses a pinch type method to connect to the rebar. We also have the easy lock wheel, which actually goes on and actually locks on top of the wheel, which gives you a great secure setting. And one of the better chairs that I used for many years here is our easy chair, which actually gives you a fairly small print. You can typically get that up to 6.5 inches in height. The chair itself is extremely strong and is actually a favorite of a lot of the bridge contractors that I have serviced over the years. So where do you find this information? Well, best place to actually grab a hold of is get a hold of our Dayton Superior Bar Support Handbook. Product pages, the data sheets are all in there. You can actually find any of the safety data sheets online. If you can't get a hold of the handbook, go to www.daytonsuperior.com. You can download the handbook, and if you're looking for an in particular single item, the safety data sheets and tech data sheets And all the information that you need are actually all listed based under, if you can go right to the search bar, type in the item that you're looking for, and those items will come up. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to contact customer service. And thank you. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to training@DaytonSuperior.com. And we're looking forward to see you on the next session. Thank you.